All right, listeners and watchers, if you're going to watch this on YouTube, I have a new friend that I made. I didn't know Shawn before we went on that three-city tour that we just did, but I actually spent, let's see, what is that, 72 straight hours? Well, not straight, but on and off on a three-city tour with this guy, and he is pretty amazing. Shawn, how you doing this morning?
Oh, excellent. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, same here, same here. Well, tell us a little bit about you, because the listeners, are mostly home inspectors. Give us a little bit of your background and how you got into home inspection and that sort of thing. And just tell us about you. We'd like to get to know you personally.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I got into home inspections because I was looking for a business to own and operate and grow. And I was at an event. And at that event, I saw a lot of other people who own and operate this business, and they were successful. And I looked around and I said, well, if these guys can do it, this is for me. I'm here to do it. And my biggest question was, can I do this? Because, my background was definitely different than everybody else's. And these people have been doing it for 30 years. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to. And I sat with, I forget his name right now. And he goes, listen, sometimes opportunity is disguised as hard work in a pair of overalls. And I thought about it for a while, and I said, all right, I'm willing to try it. And when I got out there and started, I was like, wow, this is actually a lot of fun, especially like I used to work in offices and server rooms and, just a completely different lifestyle. And I was like, okay, I can do this for a while. But my goal was never to stay in the business. My goal was to grow, hire people, and get out of doing the inspections and just manage and run the team, which at this point we are.
Yeah, for all the listeners out there, I probably should have said this in the beginning. Shawn owns Max Home Inspections in Miami, Florida, and we talked in the pre-talk, and I assumed this. His son's, I think he has a 5-year-old son named Max, so I assumed you named it after his son, which is cool. The little story I had was my father owned a funeral home, and when I was born, it was Sandlin Funeral Home, and after I was born, he changed it to Sandlin and Son Funeral Home. Unfortunately, the most popular TV show on TV at the time was Sanford and Son, which was about a junkyard. I don't know if it's the greatest name change, for a home. Well, he was funeral home. So tell us a little bit about your wife and your son and how that inspired you.
Oh my goodness! So my wife Sylvia and myself, we've been together for quite a while, 5+ years. And, we were always looking for something to do together. We both came from a corporate background, and, one day I was like, hey, I have an idea, and she kind of went along with it. And from that day on, we kind of go, how do we make this happen? We actually had plenty of failures along the way before we ever got to Max Home Inspections. And, we failed fast, we failed hard, but when we saw this opportunity and we were looking for it, we go, this is what we're looking for. So we jumped right on board with it, and, it's been amazing. And just naming it after him, when we do presentations and we go, are you ready to meet the CEO? And we put his picture up on there, and we instantly connect with everybody. Because, everybody has a reason why, and that's ours.
Well, how many inspectors do you have? And you've been in business, if I'm not correct, 2.5, 3 years now?
So there's a couple things with that number. So one of our partners, Mitch, he's been doing it for close to 45 years. I mean, he's been doing it since man walked on the moon. And when Sylvia and I got on board, when we first met him, we go, hey, what if we partner up? And he told us, no, I'm not interested. And I go, okay, but we were still interested. So after a year, we started it, and we started showing our model, and we go, hey, look, it can work. We went back to him and go, let's do this. And he goes, absolutely, let's do this. Now I've seen it. It can work. Our ideas are solid. So we became a new company at that point, which is when we became Max Home Inspections. And that was, I'm going to say 2.5 years ago. But we've been working on this plan for quite a while. I mean, we've known Mitch for 5 years, and this has always been the plan. So, even though it's been 2.5 years, one partner that brings all the experience has done it for 45 years. And we just rebranded 2.5 years ago, but that was still like a year in the making. I mean, we did a lot before we got to that point.
Yeah, no, that's actually pretty brilliant when you think about it. You took his experience and your business savvy, and you built this machine, inspection company. No, that's pretty brilliant. I hate this word, but you hacked the experience. I mean, that's not a good word, but you figured out a way to combine and speed up the learning curve, I guess, so to speak, which was smart, which is pretty brilliant on your part. So how many inspectors do you have now, and what was it like a lot of guys struggle with hiring that very first one.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 14 guys now.
Marketing person right now, but go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at this point, I've done every position in the company.
Right.
I've done the marketing routes. I do presentations still. I actually enjoy doing that a lot. I've gone out there and I've done hard work and gotten up at 6 and gotten home at 10 and done reports till 2 a.m. and repeated that day after day. I mean, I've done all of that.
Right.
We are up to 14 guys right now and climbing. I mean, at this point, it's always like I want to interview somebody every week, if not multiple people. I'm looking for the right people every single time. And that first guy, was a mistake. It was actually my brother. And when I hired my brother,
it makes that first mistake.
Yeah, I mean, he worked with me before at some other things, and this is a good opportunity. In fact, most of my employees come up to me and go, "Wow, like I wish I had this opportunity in my life prior." So when we first started, we saw that. So I went to my brother and I go, "Hey, are you interested? You can do this." We've learned a lot. It's not the right person. It's not the right, attention to detail. And at this point, we're looking for those high I's on the disc profile and the high S's, the people that really can, connect with people, have a conversation with them, and still care for them, care for the person. So we're looking for those people. And, at this point, we realized that that's not him. He was very technical, very high C, a moderate D. And he's looking at details. I mean, he's like the perfect IT guy. He goes out there, he can find the details. But, when they get done, they go, "That was a good home inspection, but I hate this guy." And he didn't like the job either. So he wants to work in an office. So he went and had other opportunities for him. And that didn't work out. My next guy came on. This guy to this day, I mean, he gets all the tips. He gets he gets tons of reviews. Somebody tipped him artwork. It's interesting. Yeah. It was like a $2,000 painting or something they gave this guy. It's like, wow. So getting that first guy, you want to make sure he fits you, and don't be afraid to go, "Hey, this didn't work out. Get rid of him. Try somebody else." Just because that guy didn't work out doesn't mean the next guy won't. And when I started, I was with this guy, and the guy who really was doing a decent job. And I said, "Listen, I'm going to make sure you're as busy as possible, and I'll give you jobs so that you have the opportunity. And I'm going to be out there keeping it busy." But I sacrificed profit margin and opportunity for myself to make sure that this other guy was fed, because now I'm responsible for him and his life.
Right.
So it was tough, but I had a mission.
Cool. So how many do you have now currently? How many inspectors?
14 guys, and multiple in training and people early in the process that I haven't even counted yet.
Okay, cool. Now, Shawn, tell us something that you do different that you think our listeners would do a little different.
I mean, it's funny when people are like, "What are you really doing different?" And the truth is, I'm just doing a lot of it. Right. We market to 500 plus offices. I don't really have a no bounds limit. We'll keep going. When people say, "Oh, I'm, don't come here, you come here too often," I go, "That's okay. That's my job, right? Like, my job is to come here and you to remember me." I want them to know that I'm always around. They can't get rid of me. And, we just stay on top of people. And another thing that's really maybe different than other people is I want people to call me with problems. Maybe not me directly, because as you heard from my experience, I'm not great with customer service. But
Shawn's presentation is it's crazy. I mean, it's great, but he turns it upside down. I mean, it is not like a normal presentation. He'll say in the middle of it, he's like, "I'm not the person who should handle complaints. Anybody should handle complaints. It would be better than me."
Yeah.
Just your demeanor and everything. I mean, it totally turns. It's good. It's refreshing. It's totally opposite of what you expect the presentation to be.
Absolutely, and that's because when complaints come in, you take it personally.
Right.
But at this point, I've gotten a lot better with it, and usually, now I'm the second person to handle the call, so the people get yelled at somebody early on, and then they go, "Okay, this guy yelled at me for this problem," and now I have a second to think about it. And they talk to me. I go, "Listen, I'm here to help you." And generally, I just I could take somebody's complaint down into, "Okay, I understand and I'm on your side. I'd be upset too if that was the situation. Here's what I can do for you." And I don't take it personally anymore. And I just go, if I was in your shoes, how would I feel about that? So that's one of the things that I really try to do. And that's a little different. Like, call me with your problems. Even a year later, we saw somebody who mentioned, hey, this listing agent has a problem with you guys. I don't know what it is. So I go, hey, can you call them now that you had a good experience with us, and tell them to call us and come in and meet me, because, I don't want there to be bad blood. And we go around telling people how bad we are when, just get to know us and understand what we do. And by the end of the conversation, she's like, well, I'm not going to recommend you, but I'm not going to talk crap about you anymore. And I was like, fantastic. That's a win.
Well, baby steps. You never know. Like that. And a year or 2 years later, they might use you. And I mean, we're set up for bad things sometimes because we're the ones bringing the bad news. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes just doing your job, you become like the bad person, the real estate agent. I mean, you just do the best you can. It's a weird dynamic. I don't know any other business in the world where the person who usually refers you isn't truly your client, but the buyer is truly your client. And then by doing your job with them, sometimes you tick off the person who referred you. It is a very weird dynamic. But, we just do the best job we can and inspect every house like we were inspecting it for payment.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that just goes right back to, our job is to help. And one of the things that's a little odd for us is when I learned how to be a home inspector, I have a lot of family members that are realtors. My mom specifically is a very high-end producer. She's a top producer in her office, even nationwide. She wins awards every year. And, she was out there with me, and I was like, thanks for hiring me. What do I do? And she's like, all right, here's what I want to see. Here's what my client needs to know. And we were kind of trained by the realtor, what's important to them and their clients. And then so we do basically, whatever the SOP demands. And the above and beyond is what the realtor was looking for help. So that was kind of what we made it a thing. And, of course, tying in the warranties and everything else that we do just really makes this a big, well-rounded package.
Awesome. I'm going to go off script here for just a second, Shawn, for you specifically. In talking to you, you had experience prior to the home inspection business with Google AdWords. What advice would you have for an inspector out there who had never done Google AdWords if they wanted to get into and I know there's multiple ways to market your business, and I always say put your eggs in a whole bunch of baskets, and that's just one basket. What advice would you give to somebody who's never done Google AdWords? Any simple advice or?
Yeah. So just keep in mind, there's marketing and advertising. Marketing is what you go out there and you bring smiles, you meet people, and you call people up. That's marketing. Right. Advertising is the pay-to-play game. And I would recommend people not get into AdWords unless they have a solid website that loads super quickly, has the right message on board, and they're ready to spend $3,000 a month without hesitation. If you even oh man, what am I going to do if I lose that $3,000? This is not the right game for you. When we got into it, we had already worked on AdWords for a bunch of companies. So we already knew the effectiveness of it. And we had a system in place to handle phone calls instantaneously, multiple calls at a time, backup call center using RWS as backup call center. And we were ready for it. And when we split the switch for $3,000 a month, we spent that day one when we didn't have income. We just went out there and spent the money because we had everything ready for this. Most people aren't ready for this. Most people go, I can handle the amount of calls that are coming in today, but if you double that, next thing you know, they're in an attic. They're not handling calls anymore. And, that being said, a lot of people aren't able to do it, and a $3,000 loss for them is a big deal. But when we calculate where that $3,000 goes, I can tell you the first client we ever got from it. The agent is, she didn't pick us at all. Her clients found us on the internet. And when we met that agent out there, she's used us every month consistently from that day. So at this point, we've done, 30 inspections for her. And it's just consistent. And every month we get a couple of those and just grow. And even if she did 4 every year, which is a normal agent, and we picked up maybe, 5, 6, 7 of those, that's still, it's not even break even. It's a positive because you're building and building and building. And not to mention, they refer you out. Now you have an opportunity in front of listing agents too. The listing agent refers us. So that's, one of the secrets is even though it's expensive, keep in mind you have multiple opportunities. There's 3 people at an inspection: listing agent, buyer's agent, and client, and you can impress them and get referrals from all of them.
Yeah, no, it's great advice.
but it is expensive.
Being on tour with you and Rob and Wally. I mean, I'm doing some things right, but I realize there's some other things I need to do. Well, kind of on that note, but just this is sort of an overall question. Shawn, what advice would you give if, and I like these interviews to be kind of like we're just sitting at a restaurant or a bar having a beer, and I've always thought there was great value in that. That's every time I've ever went to a conference. I mean, nothing against the conference itself, but that's really where I got a lot of value. So that's why I wanted to package. That was the whole idea. So we're just sitting at a bar. If somebody came up to you and Shawn, I've heard a lot about you. You're successful. I'm just got my home inspection license. I want to start. What advice would you give them?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a couple big groups that have really helped me get started. Before I even had my license and I was getting ready for this, I had joined MIC Platinum and I had joined TOP. And between those two groups, all the answers to every question I ever had were pretty much there for me. So it makes it a lot easier going in when everybody else already figured it out for you and you're just doing what they told you. And a lot of people will see the success and they're like, well, what are you doing different? I'm like, I'm just following everybody else's, information they gave me. You guys, everyone else made the mistakes already. And
I made them all.
Yeah. And at that point, we got to learn from them. So when we're going in there and going, hey, I've done 14 inspections this month. What do I do next? And they go, all right, well, here's your next step. I go, fantastic. I'll be back next month. And, let me see how that went. And then we're at 45 inspections a month, 1 month later. And then I go back and go, what do we do now? And it's like, here's your next step. So those kinds of things make it a lot easier. So definitely I would join one of those, or if not both of those groups, dedicate your time to it and learn from other people who are already several steps in front of you. And it brings a lot to the table. And there's always new ideas there. And sometimes it's just going back to it, like at the MIC and the top group, 2 years ago when I was first getting out there doing only a couple inspections a week, I'm thinking like, man, there's too much information here. Now I'm going back and I'm looking for that single detail. Like, what can I learn today that's life-changing? And I look for 1, 2, 3 points to add on to the business or to rethink how I'm currently doing it. So those are really what you want to do. You want to be out there in a mastermind setting. You want to be working with people who know what's going on in the business and, really remove some of that time period and trial and effort. Like, why go make the same mistake somebody else made? If you see it and you still want to do it, now you go, hey, that guy made that mistake. What can I learn from it before I do it myself? And that's really our approach at it.
I can't remember who wrote the book, but when I say I write a book, I actually listen to books. And some book, anyway, he said he goes to conferences and he reads books, and if he could just get 1 or 2, maybe 3 gold nuggets out of any book or conference that he can use in his business, then it's absolutely worth the time and 10 times over. Because I know sometimes I sort of got into the funk of, I've been doing it a while, and it, I honestly sometimes I was like, well, I've heard all this before and heard it before, and I know it, and I've gotten lazy or whatever. But if I could just pick up one new thing, like you said, and then add that, there's a cumulative effect, and it keeps you sharp, man. It keeps you energized about your business. Because honestly, I get burned out, and then like I'll get around guys, and I'm like, that gets me energized again. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
that was a fun conversation that we had to have. We had on the plane and while traveling, and sitting with another amazing guy like Rob Lamone too, and he's going, hey, here's what I did, and I'm like, oh wow, that number's important to me. And like, I can't believe I got that. It's something that we just overlook so easily when you're not working with somebody else on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, and you'll experience this, but you're learning. It's great. You're picking up. You're learning quickly. It's a lonely business in your hometown. I mean, there's not. There's nobody really you can talk to. Because they're your competitors, and you like them, but you don't have the same problems. And then like you get burned out sometimes, and you're like, man, I just rather do it. And then but then you get around some other guys that have similar, things, and guys in other markets are much more willing because you're not a direct competitor. So, and you have a lot in common. So it's really refreshing because, around you, right where you are, there's not a whole lot of people who have the same things in common that you in the same problems you have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Well, on the flip side of that, you said you gave advice to somebody starting out. What's the best advice you ever got, Shawn?
I think the best advice was that, hard work opportunity looks like hard work and a pair of overalls. Because I was sitting there going, do I even want to do this? Is this the right thing for me? I mean, my background was I was an IT guy. I was a marketing guy. I worked in an office. I had AC. It was nice and cold. I could sit in the comfy chair all day. And here somebody is going, go outside, climb a ladder, get in an attic space. It's 150 degrees. And when I first started doing it, I was like, even when I started doing it, I was like, this is rough. So down here in Florida, we have wind mitigation, and it involves you sitting in an attic for 30 minutes, basically, especially when you start and you don't know what you're doing. So you spend a lot of extra time in this hot space, which is 150 to 200 degrees in some really terrible houses. So we're doing this practice wind mitigation at my mom's house. And I'm there, and I come back out of the attic, and I go up to my wife, and I go, there's no way. I can't do this a second time. And she goes, what do you mean? I'm like, it's too hot, it's too bad, it's too hard, right? And I'm sure everyone has had that before. It's too hard, it's too difficult, it's too challenging. And my wife is shocked. And she goes, well, let's go up together, and I want to see what you're doing, because I'm not going to make you do something that's impossible or going to kill you. She goes up with me. We spend another half hour in the attic, in a 145-degree attic, whatever it is. It's a sauna. And she does the whole thing with me. I showed her how to do wind mitigation. She did all the measurements. She did everything. And we come down, and she goes, man, they pay you to go to the sauna? That's pretty cool. And I was like, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And she's like, well, listen, that's not too terrible, but everybody here does those, so we have to do them. And she looks at me, and she goes, I got up there in the attic. Can you do this again? And I go, fine, I'll do it again. And looking, yeah. And she got me a cold water, and she goes, all right, we can do this. And, it's funny. I went to a Bold class a couple months ago, Keller Williams Bold, which is a fantastic place to meet agents who are looking to improve themselves and grow, which is a great opportunity for our business. And the coach interviewed one of these agents. And the agent goes, I have a hard time prospecting. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, I remember this part. I had a hard time doing women to let you to want to do this. And the coach says, well, do you love your wife? And the guy's like, well, of course I do. And the Bold coach turns around and goes, I don't think so. So this guy gets pissed. He's like, what do you mean? Of course I love my wife. So the coach goes, well, if you did, then I want you to call her right now and say, honey, I love you very much, but I don't love you enough that I'm going to keep working hard to make sure there's food on the table and money in the bank and making sure we can afford the house. Otherwise, I would be out right now prospecting and having leads so that we could get this opportunity. And the guy, he went pale. The guy is sitting there going, well, I'm not having that conversation. And he goes, well, then you pick the phone up and you start calling people and you make it happen. And, a few minutes later, I had the opportunity to speak. So I get up there and I'm like, I'm not having that conversation with my wife. So I'm here to prospect. Here's what I'm here to do for you. And here's what I want from you. And I want everyone's card. And I'm going to call you later. And we're going to set up an appointment. And I just want to get to know you so you can see what we're going to do. The whole room was cracking up. And I think about that all the time because I'm not telling her that that conversation at all, right? So I'm out there to make it happen. I'm out there to meet people. So when you're out there, advice to get started is don't be afraid. And if you are, call your wife and tell her you don't love her. So it's great. You got out there and you got to make it happen. You got to go meet people and a lot of people are way more receptive than you think. And our rule of thumb is if somebody's, the anti-you, which I get that a lot. And they're like, I'm not going to do this. And I have to coach my marketing reps when we get to an office and you're not allowed in here because the broker's husband is an inspector, whatever it is. Even if they're like, we don't like you, we've heard stories. I don't care. We go, let's just go around and there's 500 other offices to go market to. So just ignore them. And keep moving. Don't let speed bumps get in your way.
I totally agree with everything you said. I think that's an awesome mentality. And, I've had some I don't want to get in that. And I always say, well, what is the worst thing that can happen? Yeah. What is the worst? I mean, they're not going to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, prepare yourself for the worst thing that could happen and accept that. And then remember, do you love your wife? Now go in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Make it happen. You know what? If this one doesn't work out, there's 200 billion other people, right? Just go out there and just keep going until you keep meeting people. And not to mention, just like I did with that one that hated us, hey, get to know me a few minutes, and you won't hate us anymore because we're on the same side here.
Yeah, you know, I wish I could write a book or something on marketing. One thing I've learned, and I've used this is a terrible metaphor, but let me see if I can put it in perspective. Like when I go out marketing, you know, sometimes you get that I hate you, or, you know, my husband's a home inspector or something, and that's like a negative. But you go in an office, and when you get that positive, like somebody loves you and, hey, let me bring you around, let me introduce you to so-and-so, or they tell you, hey, you know, John was out at this house and he did a great job, blah, blah, blah. If you get one of those early on, man, you're just like psyched. I mean, you're good to go the rest of the, it's almost like, and I hate to use this metaphor, but when I was single, you know, when you would go out to a bar or a club, if you could talk to a girl right away and had a positive interaction, it's like you were on fire and in the zone all night, your confidence, everything. But man, if you got shot down early on, you're just like,
forget it.
Man. And I think it's kind of like that with marketing, really. I almost wish you should almost go to your first office, the one that you know you're going to get a slam.
Mm-hmm.
To get a confidence builder, you know, you need that, you know, the way they bring boxers along. They first start them out with somebody, of course they're going to get them before they introduce them, you know, a confidence builder. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, we got one more question here, and then we're up against the break, Shawn. I appreciate your time. For all the listeners out there or watchers, I don't know when you're going to be watching it, but we're doing this early on Sunday morning. And Shawn's got a family, very, very nice. Well, Shawn, you know that this has happened. I mean, it happens to all of us. If you do enough inspections, you're going to have an unhappy camper. How do you guys handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process, and what's that look like?
Yeah, this goes right back to me not being able to handle customer service and learning from it early on.
Right.
So early on, and I mean, there's a couple of great solutions out there. Like I know RWS's unhappy camper system, like it's actually really good. But when they came out with that, I already had like a process in place, so we ended up not using it. I sent them a couple people, and once in a while when I have a problem, I just call Lane and I go, hey, I need you to call this guy because I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with this guy. So basically the process starts off. Somebody calls in and, you know, the client care coordinators, the people who answer the phone, they go, you know, how can I help you? And they kind of try to figure out where to go with it. Because sometimes these guys can just answer the phone. I mean, answer a couple questions. Like, oh, here's what you need to know. Here's where you go for it. And we can take what appears to be a complaint down to a question and move them out. If they're still kind of unhappy, then we move them over to our report review section, like customer care. And basically it's somebody who's trained to read reports and handle questions. You know, these things are so confusing for people. In my territory, we have wind mitigations, 4-point inspections, termite inspections, and home inspections, and that's the norm. So the new home buyer comes in and goes, I don't understand this. How come my insurance is $7,000 instead of $2,000? Like, they told me I have protection. Like, what's wrong? So, and of course they're mad. They're like, I can't afford the house anymore. My DTI is wrong. You know, it's not going to work. So then my guy needs to go over hey, let me pull up the report. Hey, you're missing shutters on this side of the house. You know, these look like shutters, but they're not. You know, let me explain this to you. So usually at that point, I can clear 80% of the problems. And then at the next step, if they're still angry, we go, all right, a manager will call you back within 24 hours. Usually within 10 minutes, I'm calling them back. So you set an expectation, and this way, in case, you know, we're busy. At that point, I get to review. Now I'm the third person that got to help them. I go, listen, I'm here to help you. I'm going to solve your problems. And, you know, let's say it's like, well, you know, there is the next step in the problem. It's like, all right, whatever it is, generally, it's covered by the warranty anyways. I have a roof leak 2 years later. You know what? I'm so happy you called me. You're covered under the warranty. And usually even step 2 can point them in the direction. Anyways, like, hey, go contact the warranty. Here's the claim information. But I'm able to do that again. And then if it's still a problem, I get to go, okay, hang on, let me listen to everything, and let me go back and talk to my manager. It's always good to have a manager. And I'll come back to you, and I'll call you later and see what I can do. So it's multiple tiers. And even though I'm the one who's probably going to end up solving it, if they're still upset, I still go to my manager, which sometimes is me. And I call them back, and I go, hey, I got to talk to the manager. Here's what we can do for you. You know, my cards never had my name on it. I never referred to myself as the owner. I really don't. There's a few people out there we've worked with for several years that know that I'm one of the partners, but honestly, it doesn't say it anywhere. And I mean, our new picture, I happen to be standing in the center, so they might be able to figure it out these days. But I just tell people I'm one of the, the managers, and then I always have a manager too. This way, they can't go, well, I want you to do something about it. So unless they know me for real, I can get back to them and figure out. I have time. It adds time, so I can figure it out.
That's pretty smart, Shawn. I've never thought about that. I have some rental properties, and I'm in some groups with other people who have rental properties. I remember back in the early days, I used to do all the repairs. I did everything, and that was a mistake because people knew I was the owner. I'm a softie. I mean, about the rent and all that stuff. And, finally, I turned it over to the property manager, and it was so much better because I don't even know who lives there anymore, which is good because if they know me, then it's like they can give me an excuse for the rent and all this. And I talked to a guy one time who did it all, but he said the same thing what you're saying. He never let them know that he was the manager or the owner of the company. That he owned the rental house. He would come in and do the repairs and just act like he was a repair guy. And of course, the tenant would like go off on the blah, blah, blah. And he would just be like, yeah, okay, I'll tell him. But the second they find out you're the guy, it puts you in a bad position because now it's you personally. But you're a manager. Hey, look, you're just trying to, do right by everybody, but you can't, do anything illegal or unethical, or, you're just trying to solve a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And that even went back to when I was the only inspector. I mean, it was me and my wife pretty much. She answered the phone and did marketing, and I was out there inspecting and sometimes doing presentations, whatever it took. And they'd go, oh, are you the inspector that we asked for? No. Just ask for an inspection, and one of our guys will be here. If you get me, that's great. And then, of course, it was just me. So, like, they get me all the time. They're like, we get you all the time. Like, my other guy's in Miami today or whatever. And then as we got busier, some people started requesting me. And, I learned early on that was bad. Because if I have to do the work, I can't do other higher value work. So I started bringing somebody with me, and I go, oh, you want to meet this guy? He's been doing it for a long time. And then I slowly, like, when they would request me, I would bring the other guy, and I would just hang out in the kitchen and talk. And then once or twice they'd stop requesting me. They'd start requesting the other guy, like, oh, but that guy does such a great job. And I would just, or I'd call them up and like, hey, I can't make it today. I have a flat tire. Somebody else is going out there, and just be like, oh, okay.
Well, what Shawn just said is great advice. A lot of times, like when you transition from a one-man, if you want to, and again, I'm not advocating being a one-man shop and being profitable, and it's not a bad business model. But if you do want to expand, a lot of times it's hard to get them to. What he said is fantastic. Just bring the guy with you, bring the guy with you, bring the guy with you until they get used to them. And, I always say I go from them being a fly on the wall to me doing all the work to me being a fly on the wall and them doing it all. And then I'm ready to pull out. And now they actually, they're comfortable with them. They're like, you train them, they do what you've made a transition. If you can think about it from the real estate person's perspective, they're just afraid of the unknown.
Yeah.
And if they know what to expect and what they're going to get, they're not going to be afraid of it. And then they'll transition because they've gotten comfortable with this person, and they were comfortable with you, but now you've transformed that comfortability, I guess that's a word, I don't know, to the new person, I guess.
Yeah, and I know some people out there could be scared. Well, this is my top agent. They want me. So you have to ask yourself some questions. What do I want? Do I want to expand? Do I want to have this? Do I want to work consistently? Like, what is it that you want? Some people want to be single man up, and that's awesome. It's very profitable. It's a lot of fun. It's a lifestyle. I enjoyed it for a long time, but my goals were a little different when I started. So once I realized that I wanted other people out there, I made some decisions. One, if I lose a top agent, I don't cry. I go, you know what? Fantastic. I find the ones that want to fit my model. So the ones that go, I have to be Shawn, and I won't use you unless you're Shawn. I'm like, well, you're just going to go use some other random person. Like, how is that different than using my guy who I trained, who does what I tell him to? And the couple agents who I've had a relationship with a long time, and I go, listen, I'm sending my guy out there. I've trained him. He's going to take care of it. If you don't have a 5.5 star out of 5, if it's not above and beyond the experience you'd have, maybe even better than me, you call me, and I'm going to go beat that guy up. I'm going to make sure, it's not acceptable. He's got to take care of you. And if it's not okay, it's not okay. You tell me. It's very important to me. And some of the top agents kept using us. Some of them didn't. So we just go with agents. I'm willing to lose that.
my internet connection went a little fuzzy, but I'm good now. All right, well, we're going to pause here for our sponsors and come back here with some ups and downs that Shawn's had.
Hi, I'm Preston Sandlin, and I own Home Inspection Carolina, and I wanted to show you a way that you can get more home inspection leads. So what you can do, you obviously can do a pre-inspection, but I understand some people don't want to do that. But what it is, we set out a sign, and this sign is going to have information about the house. When you text that, you could have information about the house, you could have a home inspection discount, you could also lead them to a website. So this is my daughter, Sarah Margaret. Say hi.
Hi.
So Sarah Margaret, you pretend like you're buying this house, and I want you to text, you're riding by, doing a kiki dance, whatever, and you see, hey, I'm interested in this house. I'd like you to text info to that number, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and do that now. She's interested in the house. So for more information on this house, she's going to text that. And a home inspection discount. Okay, so I just got the lead in the buyer. Now, you should get something in a second. So what'd you get? So click on the top one there, yeah. So you'll see what she gets. So she's going to get information about the house. And meanwhile, I got the lead. All right, so scroll up just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. So there's like a little video about the house. Of course, your phone's really slow. There's multiple pictures of the house and whatnot. And well, there goes the video finally. I'm gonna have to edit this a little bit. But the cool thing is, read what it says there. Read that out loud, somebody.
This is a demo house. It is not for sale. It is for demonstration purposes only. Information about the house would go here if this house was actually for sale. If you are interested in getting a home inspection, call 704-542-6575 with the code HIC 2018. You can receive a $23 discount on a home inspection on this house or any house you decide to buy in this area. Discount code HIC 2018. 704-542-6575.
Okay. Now, well, I talk a little bit. Text that same number, text info1. You can just use the same number, text info1 now. So what I'm going to do is show you how we did a couple of other things with it. But again, the whole thing is to drive leads. Now I have the lead and I can follow up with her. She's a potential buyer. I can do a drip campaign. Let me go one. Now click on that. What you got for no, top there. Edit this. See how there's a discount code there, home inspection discount. All right, last one. Go back to that same text and text info 3. So this is something of value that's not a discount code. It's an inspection list. So I can put that sign anywhere. And again, see, I'm getting the lead, so I'll click on here to the lead. And you see, I just got these leads. Is your number 704-7? Oh, I better not say that out loud because guys will be calling you. But obviously, all right, so did you do info 3? Mm-hmm. All right, now click on that top one and make show what that shows on there. So, all 3, I captured the lead. I did information about the house with a home inspection discount. I can connect it to a URL that has a home inspection discount, a URL with something giveaway, that's checklist, radon information, you name it. But we capture the lead. So everybody who texts this, we get that home inspection lead. They're going to need a home inspection. They're also going to need probably a realtor. So the realtor is going to like us as well. So check out inspectedhouses.com. It's a new way to get leads for your home inspection business and leads for the realtor as well. Thank you.
I feel like I've known this guy a long time, but I haven't. I've only known him, I guess, about a month now. Maybe not even that long, but he's a nice guy if you spend some time with him. It makes you feel that way. He owns Max Home Inspections in Miami, Florida, and he is very forthcoming. And actually, I think people misjudge this guy because he's come on so strong so quickly. Some people, how, but if you really sit down and talk to the guy, he's very willing to help, has an open heart. He's a good dude. Shawn, what's the toughest time you've ever had in your business, and what'd you learn from it?
Can you say that again? The internet was a little bit choppy.
Yeah, I hope this thing's not going to go bad. What's the toughest time you've ever had in your business, and what'd you learn from it?
Oh, absolutely. Toughest time. First off, I think one of the things you need to learn early on is success is jumping from failure to failure enthusiastically.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a quote I got from Winston Churchill, and it just applies. I mean, that's just like, hey, things go wrong every single day. I mean, the tough time for me is I work with my wife, and many of you can relate to that. And, the problem at work doesn't always end when you leave, even if you leave at 9 o'clock. So it comes here, and my wife and I have argued until past 2 a.m. over simple problems, and we have different, beliefs on how this problem is. And I go, whatever, I can deal with it tomorrow. And she goes, we got to figure this out now. And of course, the truth is my wife is always right. And I'm sure most of you learn that pretty quickly. So I try not to argue with her, but several times I have very strong beliefs. And I'm a very strong personality. And again, that goes right back to why some people don't like me. I come off very strong. I'm very aggressive. I'm here to make stuff happen. I will do what it takes to make it happen because that's my goal. And I'm not giving that up. So when I have a very strong personality, and my wife is laid back on most everything, but she has her goal is to make everything nice and smooth. So I show up one day and I go, let's do this idea. And I just start doing it. And next thing you know, she's like, you don't have a process for it. You don't have a system for it. People are going to call. Nobody has any clue what they're talking about. And now you just invented a problem for everybody where if you do it this way and write out step 1, 2, 3, 4, here's who needs to know what, here's the next step. This problem doesn't exist. And that kind of changes the way that I create ideas. So one of the things you got to really know, and everyone can learn from here, is don't create problems for your spouses or the rest of your company. Map out the idea thoroughly, and that'll prevent, so we have a paper now that we use. It's like, Shawn's great idea. That's pretty much the title of it. And it goes, yeah, exactly. Here's the resources needed to make it happen. Here's who's going to, call in. Here's what we need to be able to say. Here's the problems that will come up. Here's how we deal with those problems. And some of those are like, I don't know what's going to happen. And just make sure when we start a new idea, we hand that paper to everybody in the office because there's stuff that we've done before. And suddenly you hear, the people answering the phone and they go, what are they talking about? And I was like, fuck, I forgot to tell you, this is what we're doing. And they go, it'd be nice to know, and instead of everyone running around confused and now everyone's upset, now you have a very stable environment. It's kind of like sending out the memo. Here's what we're doing now. So, mapping out ideas thoroughly is a big thing because arguing with your wife at 2 a.m. is not fun.
No, it's not fun. Of all the partnerships I've ever had, that's the one that I really need to keep doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been several times I've told her, I'm like, listen, I'm willing to walk away from everything if it means that our relationship, it's more important than anything else I've ever done. I'm like, I'll go do something else. We can go get 2 different jobs. It doesn't matter. And then we've sat down and go, how do we make this work? And, sometimes we needed a mediator to figure out what we're doing between ourselves. Sometimes we needed some time apart for a couple minutes and just like, all right, give me 30 minutes and let's sit down and try this again. And other times it's, let's do it this way from now on. And again, having a strong personality, being the one who comes up with crazy ideas, it causes a lot of tension. So.
Well, it sounds like you guys got a good yin and yang, and that's a little bit the way it is in our house too. I always have all these great ideas, or I don't want to say I have them. I usually get inspired by something that, there's something that sparks it. I want to give credit to that. And
they have great ideas too. They're like mine's like marketing and hers are systems. So they work together, but we have to both be on the same page or it doesn't work.
Yeah, but she's more concerned, and rightfully so, with, all right, so how do we carry this out? What's that look like?
Yeah.
You can't just, come up with a brand new great idea every week and not have some plan of implementation or, it just becomes mass confusion among your message, among the people you want to carry it out, the whole 9 yards. All right. Well, Shawn, do you do social media? Do you have any tips for folks doing social media?
I'm the millennial that doesn't like social media. And I'm like the only one in the company who doesn't like it. Everybody else loves it. When I think about this stuff, I need a direct, I made money from here by putting money into this pot. So to me, I'm like, I don't like social media because it's just branding. I'm not a fan of branding at all. At this point, now we're kind of big enough, it does matter because people need to constantly be aware of us. So I let people in my office who care about it really focus in on that because that's not my goal. So my wife goes, we need to get it done. Somebody in my office goes, I'm good at it. And we go, congratulations. It's like, that's what needs to be done. When I go out there and do events, I'll take a picture, I'll send it to my office and they upload it. When my inspectors, take a picture of the client hugging them, they upload it. So I don't even think about it. I do very minimal with it because I'm just not a believer of it, but it does get done by people behind the scenes. And that just goes right back to do what you're good at and have other people get paid to do what they're good at. So I'm not good at it. I know it's a thing. Let somebody else in my office do it. They do it 10 minutes a day. So it costs me pennies to get it done. And, even re-looking at our profiles on like multiple outlets like LinkedIn, my LinkedIn page still said I was like an IT guy. So they go in there and go, okay, we're going to start updating this. And I go, I don't even pay attention to it. I have a Facebook that I communicate with some great people and family members, but I don't update it. Somebody else updates my Facebook, messages people, keeps me informed. So that's it. Facebook is just a family communicator as far as I'm concerned. So it's interesting, right? I'm like the young guy who goes, what's social media? Like, I don't care about it.
Yeah, we do we subscribe, we send out a newsletter twice a month, I think. And we subscribe. I mean, it's like this really good thing. It sends out tips and stuff. And I've learned I really need to read it, though, because it's I'll go out to an office and they're like, hey, I love those tips you sent out today. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm going, well, man, please don't quiz me on it. It kind of reminds me of, being in school when the teacher called on me about the reading last night. Like, oh, man, how much can I fake this? She figures out. But it's good stuff. Let people do what they're good at. How about price shoppers? How do you guys have people calling? How much do you charge? That's the first question. How do you handle those?
Yeah, no, we get a lot of price shoppers, especially when you do something like Google AdWords. I mean, remember, they're looking at 12 different websites going, who do I want to use? I don't know the difference. So price shopping is normal. Even with realtors that we use all the time, they're like, is that the best you can do? Sometimes it is. We don't really argue with people. I know there's a lot of people out there that go, that's my price and you take it or leave it. But at this point, my job is to keep all the inspectors' calendars full. So when I first started being very, kind of go with the flow on this one, I went to the inspectors and I go, all right, you guys have a choice. Once in a while, we're going to take a job that's not fantastic. Would you guys rather sit at home and earn $0 or make some money out in the field? And they said, oh, no, we want to work. And I go, fantastic. So we just said, all right, fine. I mean, it's only once in a while. It's our option. Once it gets on the calendar, a manager can go through and go, you know what, we're not taking that job, but we can get rid of it. So we kind of go, here's our price. We have some set discounts we'll give them. But if they argue it, we'll do whatever it takes to put it on the calendar. And we've already noticed that when we do that, generally the client is so grateful that we're out there. They trust us more when we're out there. And my guys upsell stuff that is helpful for them. We go out there and like, hey, by the way, here's mold. We can do mold. Are you interested in this? Are you interested in that? And generally are. Sewer camera. We do lots of sewer cameras down here. That's a huge upsell for us and very valuable to the client. So they go out there and go, hey, why didn't you order this? And they go, I want that. Bingo. We just added the money back to the job. So it makes it very easy for us to just kind of go with it. And we're a volume-based business at this point. So we need to get the more jobs versus the higher ticket.
Gotcha. How do you think, I know you don't have a crystal ball, none of us do. How do you think home inspection will change in the future?
There's a lot of stuff up in the air with our industry that we're in right now. This business has gone through changes since I've been in it. Things from our vendors trying to control who we are, to our information being sold to competitors. to, just how we operate in the field, and the fact that, like, I know that in our businesses, your business and mine, we really target realtors so they know who we are, so they can refer us because they know we're really good and we take care of clients. Well, one of the things that comes up is, as realtors kind of move to the cloud idea, do realtors moving to the cloud, does that phase out realtors? Does it mean that these realtors are inaccessible? Do they become Zillow agents? Does Zillow put out their own guys here? I don't know how home inspections are going to change in the future, other than we'll become more and more responsible for low voltage systems and Alexas in houses and, silly stuff like that. Because that's what they want us to be responsible for. But I do know that it's something that we got to make sure we do our best, build those relationships, and take care of people as best as possible, and hope for the best as we go.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't predict the future. I mean, I always tell my kids, you just got to get good at something, and be really good at it, and be flexible, and be willing to learn new stuff. I mean, there's always going to be opportunity. Those opportunities may change, and you just got to be flexible to it and not be stuck to the old opportunity.
Absolutely.
I guess that's my best advice. Have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor? I know I have. How do you handle it? And I mean, I don't think you can ever prevent it, but I mean, what's your advice about, the call, hey, my contractor's out here and he said the home inspector should have seen X, Y, Z.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I mean, every day, right?
Yeah.
Just remember, what sells is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So it's always better that it's somebody else's problem that they created for you, and I'll solve it for money, right? I mean, that's how the world works. So the other day, somebody comes and goes, your inspector missed it. My house is a health hazard because there is rat urine and feces all over my attic, and you should have told me, and now it's going to cost me $6,500. And I'm like, there's no way it's costing you $6,500. So I said, hey, let me look at the report. I go, here, right here, here's a picture of your attic. Most of it looks fine. Here's an area with, rat feces and urine. We said, well, we found it. What's wrong now? And they sent me their picture, and I go, whoa, change of scenery here. There's 500 times more, poop and pee and stuff. I'm like, well, hey, listen, you want to get a guy out there to do this, this, and this? I have a quote for you. Let me call my guy. Here, it's $3,500. So the other guy was charging double. And I'm like, just because he's selling fear, uncertainty, and doubt and saying, hey, why didn't your inspector find it? Here's what we found, and here's what your pictures look like. They're clear differences. And I found you a guy for half the price. And he's like, well, why are two guys coming out here?
He used that picture from another attic somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't even know if that's your attic now, but the one you're sending me, there's a lot more stuff in there. I'd understand. I'd be upset if I was you too. What is this? Well, just so you know, here's half price quote from what you quoted earlier. Here's what really needs to be done. You could do that for $800 and go from there. I mean, it's very common. Anything like, why didn't you find, that there was elements living inside of the wall boys here? Well, we don't pull your house apart and look for that stuff. So, you kind of have to explain things to people. 99% of people end up less unhappy about that. They're like, hey, listen, we can't check that out. That's impossible for us. But if you go through the process, right, most people end up happy after the process. Or I go, listen, call me because at least I can find the person. So at minimum, I saved this guy $3,500. He went from, $6-7 grand down to $3,500. So that's why I'd rather them call me. At least I can help them.
I feel like if the people are logical, and most people are logical at the end of the day, I mean, they can be emotional at times, but, you can deal with them. Now, there are some that just, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's a small percentage of the people that are just crazy. I mean, there's just
absolutely.
There's just nothing you can do. And every once in a while, you got to realize I'm up against crazy here. And, I tell my guys, sometimes I'm like, look, if I can refund the money and get a signed release, crazy, that's a win. Because there is no telling in a month from now, there'll be something else. Another month from now, there'll be something else. It's just, I tell them, I'm like, look, anybody who owns a restaurant has given away some free meals. Trust me. Mm-hmm. Even the best restaurants in the world. I mean, they know it. They're, 100% of the people, there's about 3 to 5% that are just not going to be happy no matter what.
Yep.
Cost of doing business. And I feel like most of the people are happy most of the time, and then you got another pretty big segment, probably 30, 40% that are 50-50. I mean, they're happy, but they'll tell you in a New York minute and when they're not happy. But they're reasonable if you try to help them. And then you got that 3 to 5% that just not happy no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I don't even mind when they put bad reviews and stuff out there. I'm like, it's their right. They can put the bad review for me. So our goal is to always overwrite them with better reviews. And when we get bad reviews, we share it with the team. We're like, hey, we got a bad review from this. Could we have done something better? Maybe. Did we do everything right? Maybe. But I want you to see what people believe our problem was. And from there, we've improved our own process just because it's like, well, we're not responsible for that. I'm like, I know, but if the guy believes we are, that's what matters more than if we are or not. Because you can't argue with that anymore. You know, they go, why didn't you do this? And they're like, since when did we check that? I'm like, we don't, but how much harder is it to take 2 more pictures every time we're at a property? We can do that. Great. Now that problem doesn't happen again. And going forward, if somebody goes, hey, I read a review and they said this, oh, I don't know what that guy's talking about. We take those pictures every single time. Here, I can show you. You know, it makes it a lot easier to grow. And I use it as an opportunity, not to mention if you only have 5-star reviews, people look at it and go, well, he paid for all these, right? So when we look across our 500+ reviews, I'm going to say maybe there's 20 or so that are 1 stars and they're unhappy. Fantastic. You know, that I'm okay with that.
It's realistic. I mean, you know, a company that has 400 reviews and not every single one of them are 5 stars. Honestly, I start wondering. I'm like, they're rigging the system somehow because that's not realistic. It's just not realistic. All right, so this is a little bit more of a fun question, Shawn, and we're winding down. And remember, this is a G-rated show when I ask this. What's the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you or one of your guys have ever found in home inspection?
I mean, at this point, we've done thousands. When I was in the field, I remember some cool things. Duct tape roofs, and I was like, just weird stuff like that. Self-pleasure toys under sinks. So you're like, you can clear this out. We're looking under here.
Right. You knew I was coming. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. You know I'm coming. Now. There's definitely some weird stuff out there. One thing that I get to talk about whenever I do presentations in front of realtors is the rat that came out of the toilet while I'm inspecting a vacant property.
Oh my God.
That scared me to death. So I'm there and I go up to this toilet and when I flush it, a whole bunch of bubbles come out. And I was like, that's so weird. And I flush it again, and when I flush it the second time, all of a sudden this dark color starts coming off from underneath, and I go, oh, like it's backed up, like this is gross, like poop's coming back. And all of a sudden it starts moving, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then it like jumps out of the toilet and sits on the toilet rim, and I just take off running the other direction. And I turn around and I see it like standing on the toilet looking around, and I go, oh my God, it's a rat. And I took a picture, I sent it to my wife, and I go, this is crazy, I have to tell you about this later. I sent a picture to the realtor, and I go, how do you want me to put this in the report? And then it's like, the questions come, like, how does it get there? What does it do? And well, it's simple. I walk outside, there's a palm tree with a palm tree branch touching the roof, so the rat climbs up the palm tree, goes down to the roof, goes to the stack, goes down the stack, and comes out. I mean, it's just how the system works. So it was a really cool learning opportunity for me about how systems really play together in a house, and a really cool story to talk to realtors about. So I'm like, hey, every time you sit down, take a look,
I mean, I know, that happened so fast. It's too bad you didn't have all that video. That would have probably been the most viral video.
It scared me to death. I didn't know what was happening.
I mean,
I took off running.
This happened to me. Like, most of my stories involve snakes or bats or something. But, by the time I get my camera out, the best thing had already happened. And now I'm shaking so much, it's like the Blair Witch Project, I got a couple of snake videos that are like that where I pulled information back to snake and I got back and I got my wits about me to get my camera out. But by this time, my adrenaline is literally, I can't hold the camera.
I was too scared. It was happening. All of a sudden, you see this thing happen. You're like, I don't know what this is. I'm not going to, I'm not staying around for this. So I took off 20 feet. I turned around and then I saw okay.
It's like that fight or flight thing in your body, endorphins or whatever kick in. But when you ever experience that, you're literally shaking because there's so much going through.
Yeah, I wasn't staying around the toilet to find out what it was. I'm taking 20 feet out. Whatever that's coming out of there, I'm not.
I'm out. Yeah. Well, what's the craziest callback you guys have ever had?
The craziest callback?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Something crazy. I mean, I remember one time we went out, these bugs. I mean, she said there was they had this infestation of bugs, and we go out there, And fortunately, I had some guy I was training with at the time too, and we go out there, and it becomes obvious. Seriously, I mean, I have a magnifying glass. There were no bugs. This was all in the person's head.
Wow.
I mean, they literally were. She's like, "Do you see them? Can't you feel that? They're on me right now." And I'm like,
yeah.
We're looking at each other going, and I'm like, is it something microscopic? What are we talking? I mean, I have a and I'm like, honestly, I think it was some sort of, I don't know, psychosis or something. But anyway,
that happens. I
don't know if you've ever had anything like that.
Craziest callbacks. I mean, nothing like that, or nothing I know of.
Right.
But I've had experience where we do that recall check program and we take all the serial numbers down.
Right.
And we call saying, can you verify these appliances here? And next thing you know, we're on the phone with the cops and sending them the report and showing them the serial numbers are different. They switched out the appliances before closing. One time I showed up, it was actually Sylvia's birthday, and at that point I was still doing inspections, but we had to get this done. We don't say no to anything. So if somebody needs an appointment now, somebody's going to go do it.
Right.
So of course I went there, and Sylvia was with me. We show up to this house, and it's not in the best neighborhood. And we get there, and I go inside, and the next thing you know, Sylvia's like paying attention to her phone, looks up, and there's cops everywhere. And she's like, "What happened?" She jumps out of the car, and she tries to find out. Well, I was inside. I had no idea what was going on. Well, when I'm in there, I'm like, "Oh, there's no appliances. This is fine. It's a vacant house." Well, it turns out the realtor got there, looked around, saw no appliances, called the cops, and I was there. Then they were interviewing me, like, "Hey, what do you know about the appliance?" I'm like, "Here's a picture of no appliance." I'm like, "I don't know anything about it." It turns out the neighbors had stolen the appliances. They actually followed they left tracks in the backyard that just went from one house to the next. So they just walked over to the other house and got the appliances back from the neighbor. And it was like, if this is happening, there's cops at the inspection because they stole the appliances just before we got there. It was really crazy. That's one of our crazier things.
I have to tell you a crazy story. I mean, I hate that we're getting off, but it's all right. It's good stuff. This true story. Years ago, I was still doing inspections, and I still do one every once in a while. But anyway, so I pull up to this house. It was a neighborhood, but it's kind of like out there a ways. And I pull up to this house, and I'm literally like 45 minutes early. I had a couple of calls to return. I didn't want to get started too early because, if you miss something. So I pull up my phone, and I'm starting to do a couple of calls I need to because I got plenty of time, and I don't have good reception. But I'm right in front of the house. So I drive my truck and go back around. I go back to the front of the neighborhood. Look like, I was pulling up some bars. I made all my calls there. So then I go back about 25, 30 minutes later. I had just been there. Cops are there, everything. And I'm like, holy shit, what happened? And somebody, in the time that I had gone, somebody had kicked in the neighbor's door. It was a smash and grab and robbed the team. In fact, they were interviewing somebody, said, "Talk to somebody in that red truck. That red truck was here." That was me. And I was like, I told them. I was like, I swear, I was just here. There was nothing. And I went up to the top of the neighborhood. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't take me in for questioning. And so then, then all my people arrive, my realtor, my buyer, and I'm sure that realtor's like, "Oh my God, I had an inspection and the house next door just got robbed." Yeah. I mean, I was younger then. I didn't think all that much about it, but now I look back and I'm like, that was crazy. Yep. That was crazy. That house got robbed in the 25 minutes. I was like at the top of the neighborhood just trying to get better phone reception. I mean, crazy, man, crazy.
And that's why you get alarms. That's why you get impact windows and doors. That's why you get a big dog.
And it was literally like there was a couple of witnesses that saw it. Somebody they literally pulled up the front yard, kicked down the door. And now, granted, this was probably 10 years ago. Now my mind starts running down. And I think it was a smash and grab. They were in and out in like a minute. They literally kicked down the door, grabbed some TVs, jewelry.
Wow. I mean, that's why I love my Ring doorbell, because it's, I can see when people walk up. I see when packages are delivered. No one's ever stolen a package, but I would be able to see them. I know when, my mom gets there, or it's a cleaning person or a handyman, I'm like, oh, cool, here's what they're doing. Here's when they're leaving. They don't have anything in their hands. Cool. It's a good idea to have that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I look back on that, I'm like, I'm surprised I didn't get arrested because I looked an awful lot like the lookout. But I had no idea, man. It was crazy. I felt bad, too, because I was like, well, if I'd have stayed there, those people wouldn't get robbed.
Yeah,
but,
maybe.
Those people would have probably robbed somebody else. All right, we're down to the last couple of questions here. Shawn, what's the best part of your job and why? What's the worst part of your job?
Man, the best part of my job is how many people I get to help on a daily basis. Everything, and then the cool thing is, as we're growing, now I'm teaching my employees how to be leaders and train other people, and that's its own challenge. And it's very interesting to learn who can do it, who wants to do it, and how they learn. And now I'm training them how I train them how to train people. So it's really cool. So that's like a fantastic thing, not to mention the realtors that I get to help on a daily basis, people that get to, move into their dream homes because of what we brought to the table, the fact that we've changed the industry. That's really the good stuff. The bad, I'm sure, as you can figure out, is handling grumpy people over the phone. I don't like it. I don't like confrontation. I don't like people being upset at me or the company. That's kind of the hard part, but even then, it works out pretty well. And maybe the other bad part is the times that I argue with my wife. I wish I'd never had to argue with my wife. Yeah. That's the rough part.
You mentioned that earlier, about working with your wife, and I work with my wife. There are negatives, like you said, an argument over work, like we just had one, it's a long story, over these daggone mouse pads I ordered at the wrong time. She okayed it. It spills over into your personal life,
Yeah.
But there is a positive to that too, because I remember way back when we did work together and I would have late appointments or late schedule and she'd be mad at me. She's never mad at me anymore because she overlooks my schedule. I mean, she's part of what, so I mean, that sense is good. And I mean, she sees what I'm doing on a daily basis. I mean, I think a lot of problems happen with people when neither person understands what the other person's having to do. I mean, when they work separately and the dragons they're having to slay. And my wife, she's in the business too. She's dealing with the clients and somebody didn't show up on time or, they didn't have a radon box. So,
absolutely. Working with my wife is honestly the greatest thing ever. And again, when I met her 5 years ago, that was kind of like our goal. I'm like, how do we stay together all day long, not work separate jobs, be together? So we were always looking for this. And I mean, it's really cool because we get to, take vacations. We want to take vacations. We get to do things. We want to do things. We get to talk about, hey, let me tell you about this idea. Let me tell you about that idea. And there's a lot of really cool benefits about it too. It's just, all of that stuff is my normal day. And I hate when I have to argue with her. And it's usually my fault. Of course, it is my fault, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Same here. No, but it's overall, I'll take it. I mean, because, and I usually, we almost have a routine we go through. We get mad at each other, blah, blah, blah. And there's a little time that elapses. And then I usually come back or ask them, look, I'm sorry, we're on the same team.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I always say. We're on the same team.
and over time, we've kind of gotten back to that point. And I go, my goal is just to make sure that we're successful and can do the things we want in the goals. And I'm like, I'm just looking out for us. I'm like, I know you are too, but we look out for each other in different ways. I go, how do I make this big? And you go, how do I make this stable? And those are the same idea, but two definitely different ways of going about it, right? So we have to work together on this. And I mean, when I wake up the next day, I forgot that there was ever a problem. And she could be mad at me still at that point when I'm like, oh, okay. And then, I get the flowers and I'm like, how do I make this right? And like, okay, you're right. And I've developed systems that I use because of that. And it's just made everything, stronger. I mean, when we're on vacation, we're at a friend's house, when we're shopping at Publix or whatever, we're talking about, hey, here's this great idea. Hey, I want to go do this office. Can we hire this person yet? When are we going to hire this person? What do you think about this employee? It's really cool. I don't know how some of my friends do it where they don't see their wife all day long. Like, how do you do that? Like, I see her 24/7, and the trip that I was with you guys, that's the longest I've been away from her since I met her. So, and then she's calling me like, what do I do? It's so weird for us to be apart. And, I know we're getting set up for another trip soon. And I'm like, babe, am I allowed to go on this trip? I know. I'm like, let me just make sure.
I mean, I know my wife was kind of like, you guys just having a good time and all that. And I was like, well, I mean, I'm not going to say we had a bad time, but I was like, it was a lot of work actually, because it was basically you set up for this 4-hour presentation, you do it, and then you immediately pack everything up, get out to the airport, fly out to the next place. It's kind of late when you get there, you eat, you go to bed, and then you do it again the next day. I was like, it's not like I learned a lot. I don't regret it. I mean, I think I learned a lot, but it wasn't like, not like we're going to the club or something.
Yeah.
There didn't even time for that. I mean, one of the cities we barely even got to eat because everything was closed by the time.
Yeah, by the time we got there. And it's like, I can only do that once in a while. So,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a lot of fun.
I started to say, not the rock stars or anything, but I was like, that lifestyle seems glamorous, but it's really a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
You just, you're constantly setting up for the next show, and I don't know, but it was good. I'm not complaining about it, but it wasn't like we all just went to Vegas and just had a great time,
Yeah, exactly.
It was a working trip for sure.
It was, and we kept up to 2 a.m. every single day, like going over notes and working with each other. Like, it was a lot of work.
Prove, like, I do this all the time. I know you probably do it too. Like, I self-analyze. All right, that joke hit. That one was a dud. That like constantly evolving my presentation. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. All right. Well, we're down to it. Let's see. I just have 2 real questions and 2 almost non-questions, and then we're done. And I'll let you get to your family, Shawn. Best low-cost, no-cost marketing idea for listeners.
I mean, I learned this from Drew. I mean, he was out there just calling agents going, hey, let's be friends. And we started implementing that in our business. And, I mean, at this point, I hired somebody for it, so there's a cost to it for us. And, by the way, there's a cost for everything. Usually it's time. So you just kind of have to figure out where that is. And we just kind of built on an idea we had and mixed it with that one. But contacting agents, being on top of it, making sure they know you're here to help them. And, again, if every day you called 4 people, I mean, you can convert 1 to 4 of those every single day. That's life-changing right there. So that's kind of what we're doing, having conversation with these people. You could start over big producers if you're a small guy. If you want to be big, you want to do volume, you go after many, many people. So that's where it is. But other than that, it's, again, going office to office, doing presentations, the lower cost method too.
And this question is almost kind of the same in a way. And I've asked you this question before, so you might have some practice at it. If you had to move to a brand new town equal to the size of the market that you're in now, and you woke up the next morning, everything else paid for, room and board, everything, no cost of living, but you don't know anybody, and you don't know your business. You got $5,000. How are you going to market your business?
Yeah, and I remember when we were on the plane, we talked about this. I'm going to do the same exact thing I said then. Every day I wake up, I'm in a brand new market. Today's a new day, and if I don't go out there and make it happen, I don't have anything. So it's going out there, booking presentations, meeting real estate agents, calling them on the phone, and just staying top of mind with everybody. But if you could be in front of more real estate agents every day, that's the trick. And $5,000 goes a long way. I mean, that's showing up with food, that's showing up with candy. That's even potentially hiring a marketing rep for a month or 2 to go out there and do the same thing as you and double the amount of results you're getting. $5,000 can take you a long way.
Yeah. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't, Shawn?
I think this was a really good follow-up to our meeting on the plane and the stuff we learned about.
I love doing this. People ask me, what do you do? And honestly, I do advertise my flyers and, the thing that Dave and I have, I use that as a commercial, but between me and you, I'm not really making any money on that. I do this because I enjoy the conversations. I mean, I'm making a little bit, but not much. Not. But it's the conversations, and it's really like I said, it's like when you go to those conferences, or you're on that plane, or you're at that bar or that restaurant talking to somebody, and that's usually where I get my golden nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we've pushed like the pre-inspected homes things ourselves for a long time, and I mean, if we did 5 in a month, that's probably a lot. I think the reason that doesn't work easily is because it's so different, and different sounds fantastic. Hey, I have this big USP that's amazing for you, but they just don't understand it.
Yeah, well, it does give you something interesting to talk about.
Absolutely.
That they like, because you're helping them, and it differentiates you. Is it going to change the world? No, I don't think so. But, I mean, as we speak, I've got some signs out there right now, a couple of pre-inspections, but a lot of just, name your benefit, whatever it is. If you do the house buyback, if you have all the warranties, whatever. Free warranties, if you use Max Home Inspection, call here to find out.
Yep.
And, put it out at new home neighborhoods. It's just another, you market realtors, you do your AdWords.
And we spoke about this, my wife and I spoke about this about 8 months ago, and I go, hey, I've done this presentation for months, and like we do 1, 2, 3, 4 a month. Like, I don't think this is going anywhere. Should we stop doing it? And her reply to me was, we should keep doing it because they don't need to remember if this works or the right idea. They need to go, wow, that was interesting. They're fun, they're exciting, they're different. Let me call them. And if it works, it works. You know, like that's why we still promote it. Just like you said, it's like, I don't think it's going to change the world, but it's something different to talk about.
Well, yeah, and you know, and I don't want to hold us too long, but you know, there's this old story, and I don't even know if it's true, but I've heard it a lot of times, and there is some sense to, you know, the sales story from years ago where the shoe salesman goes to some, you know, place in Africa that's very remote, very, you know, and or two salesmen go, and one calls back and says, you know, this is a waste of time. Nobody here wears shoes. And then the other guy calls back and says, send as much as you can. There's no competition.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it kind of, you know, it's sort of perception on how you look at it, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shawn, last question. Is there anything you'd like to ask me? And I'm not rehearsing. It's totally off the
Yeah, no, absolutely. What is the biggest thing that led to your growth in home inspection, and what are you doing next?
Biggest thing that led to my growth was probably hiring a manager.
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck. You know, I was a single man operator for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's a great model. There are limitations. Well, there's limitations with everything. You can make a good living, and I don't fault anybody who does that, and I hope they don't fault multi-inspector firms. I just never could go on vacation. And if I did, I lost business, I lost realtors. You know, I didn't go on vacation for like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I hired a couple of inspectors, and I did okay up till about 7. And I couldn't manage more than 7 people, market, do inspections myself, handle complaints. And then finally, you know, I hired an inspector manager, and that really allowed me to take off. The next thing I need to do is hire a marketing person. I have never had a marketing person. I mean, I talk to you guys on the plane, y'all have multiple ones, and I'm ashamed. I'm like, I've never had one. It's just been me. And, you know, and I was caught in that same syndrome, I still am, of like inspector. It's the same words, just applied to market. Well, nobody can do it as good as me, you know. But there's a limit to how much you can do. You can only be in so many places. You know, imagine if you could get somebody to do it 75% or 80% as good as you could, and then free up 100% of your time.
Yeah, absolutely. And get a couple of those. And I definitely think all your marketing reps should have the golf pants.
Yeah.
I think it's your brand.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know this is crazy. Are you okay wearing these? And if they say no, you're like, you're not the right person.
I know. You know, it's funny. I wore regular pants. I had to go look at a house. You know, I don't ever wear the crazy pants out of the client's house, just a real thing. But I was wearing them all day. And then also that video that you probably saw, I thought about wearing them, but, you know, that might be too confusing to people who don't know, you know. But everywhere I went, people were like, man, you sick? What's wrong with you? You look too plain, man. You're boring today.
I mean, I think that's part of your brand. You should definitely keep that up. I thought, as soon as I saw that the first time, like years ago, I was like, wow, that's cool. You know, like it's just so different. Like, I'm going to remember that guy. I'm going to remember that company.
Maybe that guy is not taking his meds, or he lost a bet or something.
Yeah. You know, and it goes right back to your company culture and your personality that you bring to it. Like, I think it's amazing.
Well, thank you, Shawn. Well, for all the listeners out there, if you got some value from Shawn, and you know you did, let's give this guy some love. Let's go to his Facebook page, give him some likes. If you have a YouTube channel, anything we can do, subscribe. How can we give you some value back, Shawn? What's your internet things? And people can...
Yeah, I mean, we have our website, maximumInspections.com. Feel free to look at that and, you know, mimic, you know, what is it? Steal the ideas from the people that are doing it right. So take whatever ideas away from that you can. I mean, I think that's fine.
Swipe and deploy is what I heard.
And deploy, yeah, that's the Dan Kennedy theme.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I did, and a lot of how I do things is just somebody else is doing it, and I do that. So no harm there. I don't mind. We're always improving. If you want to actually reach me, you have questions. You know, the best ways to get a hold of me is really through MIC Platinum and Top 3.0. Those are the places I'm always at and contributing information to. Feel free to, you know, like me on Facebook, Shawn Rossbach. You'll see I'm one of the guys from Max Home Inspections, and you can just message me. It's no problem. I usually respond with a resource link or whatever. Like, here's where you go for that. But if you really want to dive deep and ask me serious questions, join one of those mastermind groups, and I'm happy to share everything that I know.
Okay, what's your Facebook page? Is it Max Home Inspection?
It's an excellent question. Let's take a look.
He's got his marketing people doing it, which is
Facebook and then Max Home Inspections. I think if you just search Max Home Inspections.
Well, for everybody out there, if you got some value from Shawn today, and you know you did, go give him a like on his Facebook page. I think that'll help his SEO a little bit. Do you have
Max Home Inspections FL? So Facebook.com/Max Home Inspections FL.
Okay. Do you have do you have a YouTube channel? No.
I don't have a YouTube channel now.
Okay. Get one. Get one. Well, you know what you do is get one. This is just an idea I'll throw out there. I mean, you give me a bunch of ideas. And then incentivize your guys to do cool little videos. So I give them like $15 a video. I usually want 2 minutes or less. So, you know, and, you know, especially if it's something interesting or, you know, a rat coming out of a toilet or something.
Yeah.
You know, that's great stuff. But that's just an idea. And you can build up your videos pretty quickly and, you know, get that search engine optimization stuff going. Awesome. Well, Shawn, I appreciate your time, brother, and I will get this online to, either late today or early tomorrow, and I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Have an amazing Sunday. Happy